We were at my wife's best friend's birthday dinner when she leaned over and whispered in my ear, Don't embarrass me tonight with your pathetic life. Nobody cares what you waste your time on. Just sit there and smile." I swallowed my pride. But after everyone discussed their work achievements, she smirked and added, "Jason, he's still pretending he'll be somebody. It's cute, like watching a puppy chase its tail." The table went silent. I said nothing. Then, when toasting her friend, she scoffed, "At least you didn't marry a broke man who believes he's special." Everyone laughed. I just grinned, saying, "You'll regret this," and left. The next day, I made a move that caused her to cry on the porch. Now she begs and calls every hour. "Please, I need you more than ever." I'm not a storyteller. I'm just a man who felt uncomfortable in front of a group of people I barely knew, but whatever. I'm not looking for advice or sympathy. I just want to lay everything out. So this is what happened last night. First and foremost, I want to say that this wasn't my first time attending one of Christine's small gatherings, but they always feel strange. I don't know, but whenever I'm around her friends, I feel like I'm at the wrong party. Like, I missed a memo on how I should act. They all have these long-standing inside jokes. However, this time it was Lila's birthday party. A fancy little spot that, honestly, I wouldn't have picked myself. Christine was late, primping and complaining to me about not finding her phone charger. And then she got angry when I asked if we could Uber because parking there was terrible. She told me not to bother and just drive myself. It was a simple thing, but that's how the night started. So, we arrived, and the vibe was already off. Christine, for example, was clearly on edge. She kept checking her makeup in the camera, on her phone, and asked me if I absolutely had to wear a hoodie. As if we weren't both adults. Honestly, all I wanted was to get through it and go home. I don't hate Lila or her friends, but there's always so much catching up on topics I don't care about, and I feel like an extra chair. So we sat down, and everything was as usual. Lila, a couple of her old college friends, Dorothy, who was always talking about her weekend trips, and a new man named Tatum, who I guess was Lila's latest true love. Everyone was talking about their trips and new apartments, and I was just trying to stay awake. Christine was laughing a little too loudly at other people's stories. You know that fake laugh? Like she was trying to prove how interesting she was. I noticed she wasn't drinking, which was unusual for her. And she kept looking at me whenever someone asked about her career or interests. She seemed to be waiting for me to say something so she could correct it. We ordered, and everything seemed normal. But then Christine leaned over and softly said, "Don't embarrass me tonight. Just smile. Nobody cares what you do. Just sit there and pretend to be happy." She said it as if she was reminding me not to leave the stove on, but I sat there wondering, did she actually just say that? Then went back to the fake laughs. I should have said something right then and there, but all I did was nod. I get it. I'm not flashy. I don't do showy things. But damn. So dinner started, and everyone began sharing their accomplishments or something. Dorothy was talking about a new something she just bought. Tatum mentioned a good deal. Lila was just there enjoying herself. Then it was my turn. Christine cut me off before I could say anything. She said, "Randall? He's still pretending he'll be somebody. It's cute, like watching a puppy chase its tail." Everyone laughed, but it was a weird, uncomfortable laugh where nobody knew if it was a joke or not. I just sat there. I wasn't going to cause a scene at Lila's birthday party. I know Christine. She acts like that when she feels like she's not getting attention. She's always worried about not being the person with the most important thing going on. She has a status obsession, like she can't stand to be second. It's her mother, I guess. Honestly. Her mom would say things like, "You have to win or else people will forget you." I don't know. I thought it was just talk, but I'm starting to see it clearly. Anyway, after that, the table was pretty quiet. Lila tried to change the subject. She started talking about a show she was watching. Dorothy was on her phone, looking for something more interesting to talk about. I just ate and thought about leaving. But I didn't. Not yet. After the cake, Christine got up to give a little speech. I swear she loves being the one with the glass. She was talking about how Lila was always the one who knew how to get things done. How she made the right decisions. And then she added, "At least you didn't marry a broke man who believes he's special." She looked right at me when she said it. Like, don't pretend it wasn't about me. Everyone laughed. A few people stared at me. And Lila just stared at her plate. I just sat back and pushed my chair out. I yelled, loud enough for the table to hear, "You'll regret this." I stood up. Christine reached for my arm, but I brushed her off. She advised, "Don't cause a scene. Don't ruin Lila's night." But she had already ruined it for me. I grabbed my jacket. Walked out. I heard her in the background telling Lila something like, "He's just sensitive. Don't worry about it." But I didn't turn around. I went outside and texted my friend, Joseph. I asked if I could stay at his apartment. He said, "No problem." I didn't go home. I just drove. And I was on my way to Joseph's when I realized I'd left my phone charger at the restaurant. I wasn't going back for it. Christine sent me a lot of messages. I didn't reply. So that was the night. I wasn't stressed out. I didn't scream. I just left. I know some people might think I should have stood up for myself right then and there. But, honestly, I was just too tired. But I wasn't done. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me and call it a joke or whatever. She always acts like she's superior to me because she makes more money and her friends are all more successful. But she's forgotten who held things together at home. When her friends abandon her, she'll forget who actually cared about her. I'll update if anyone cares. But, yeah, I was ready to show her how pathetic I could be. I'm not playing the good guy anymore. She wants to see what it looks like when I stop pretending. Fine. She'll see. And that's all for now. Please share your thoughts. I'm sure this will cause a lot of different opinions. Just don't tell me I need to go to therapy or something. I'm not there yet. Update 1. I woke up on Joseph's couch with a nasty taste in my mouth. You know, the one you get after being angry for hours and then crashing into bed with your shoes still on. I checked my phone. There were 23 missed calls from Christine. Lila sent a few texts. She just wrote, "Right," and "Are you okay?" and a long message from my mom just asking me to call her when I had time. I didn't answer right away. I needed to think. I'm not a planner. I just do things when I get angry. And last night, I decided to stop playing nice. Not after that dinner. So, yeah. I went straight to the apartment. It only took about 30 minutes to drive during the early morning rush hour, but it felt much longer. I don't even remember much of it. Just that I was planning what I was going to do when I got there. Christine's car was gone. She always goes for an early morning run with Dorothy. There are posts about it on stories. All that stuff. Predictable. I entered the house. I grabbed a laundry basket. I started throwing my clothes, chargers, and anything else I used into it. The apartment was too neat. Like she'd just finished one of her cleaning days. I left her belongings where they were. I didn't want to look through her closet. I took the spare key from the hook. I tossed it in the bag. Then I got to work. I logged into the bank. I changed the direct deposit to my account. I removed her name from the bill pay section. I locked the credit card. She was an authorized user. But the card was mine. She'll get an email soon enough. I updated the Wi-Fi password. She hated it when I did that. Always accused me of being petty. I turned off the smart thermostat app. She could still live here, but it wouldn't be easy. I wasn't just turning off Netflix or something. I was making her deal with things. She wasn't going to like it. Midway through, my phone started vibrating again. I ignored it. I packed my laptop. A few old notebooks. My headphones. I left my toothbrush because, honestly, I needed a new one anyway. I heard the door open just as I was finishing up. Christine walked in. Hair still in a tight ponytail. AirPods still in. She saw me. Stopped. She did that thing where she tries to look annoyed but not surprised. She asked, "So you're sulking now? Are you really doing this?" I told her, "No. I'm just tired of being the joke." She claimed I was overreacting and that everyone understood it was a joke. That I tend to take things too seriously. I said maybe I did, but I wasn't going to anymore. She tried to grab my luggage. I kept it out of reach. She slapped my forearm. Not hard, but it stung. Then slammed the bedroom door. She wasn't crying. She was angry. That's her default state. I kept packing. She walked back out. Said, "Are you really going to leave? What am I supposed to tell everyone?" I told her, "Say whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me." She said, "You don't even regret it?" I replied, "Not one bit." She tried to block the hallway, but I just pushed past her. She was yelling, saying I was acting like a child, that I was ruining everything. I told her, "I'm not ruining anything. I'm just exiting your little show." She threw her water bottle at the wall. It bounced off. Didn't break. I locked the door. I got in my car. Just sat there for a while. My hands were shaking, but not from nervousness. Just from being done. I texted my mom. Just a quick text, "I'm okay. I just need some time." She called. I let it go to voicemail. By lunch, Christine had contacted me about 10 times. Then her mom texted me. She said she was worried. She asked if I'd be at the family dinner on Sunday. I didn't respond. Dorothy sent me a text suggesting I needed to talk to Chris and work things out. No way. I'm not fixing anything. I'm letting her live with the things she said about me. This afternoon, I got a notification from our joint account. She tried to buy something, but it was declined. I knew she'd be angry. She always said she'd let me handle the boring financial stuff, because she hated numbers. Now she'd have to figure it out herself. I started sorting out all the administrative paperwork. Cancelled her gym membership autopay. Called the insurance. Removed her name from the car insurance. The car was registered in my name, so I kept the registration. I wasn't stealing it. I was just making sure she couldn't drive it around like nothing changed. I sent her a message that wasn't nasty, but just the facts. I'd list what I'd taken care of and what she was now responsible for. I told her she could use the apartment for now, but she needed to pay the bills. I'd be back for my things later. She replied in all caps, saying I was being cruel, that I was trying to ruin her life. I just left it on read. I slept at Joseph's again. Ordered food. Surfed social media. Lila was sharing pictures from last night, but I wasn't in any of them. Christine, on the other hand, was still smiling like nothing happened. I laughed. She was always good at pretending. Around 9 o'clock, my mom called again. I finally picked up. She wanted to know what was going on. Christine claimed she'd called her and said I was having a breakdown. I reassured her that I wasn't having a breakdown, but I was tired of letting her walk all over me. My mom sighed. She said she'd always thought Christine was a little sharp, but she never liked how she talked down to me. She said she'd support me, but I needed to be careful. I thanked her. Told her I'd check back in soon. I got a text out of the blue from Christine's dad. He just said, "Call me." I didn't. He was always more laid back, but he hated drama. I knew he'd tell me to work things out. No way. The next morning, Christine came to Joseph's house, banging on the door. Now she was crying, not yelling. She said she needed me to come home, that she couldn't do this alone. Joseph told her to leave. She tried to push past him. He stopped her. She slapped him on the chest. He told her she had to go. She stood on the porch, yelling that I was ruining her life, that I was being unfair. Joseph threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. So, she finally left, slamming her car door. I didn't feel bad. I wasn't sorry. For years, she pretended to be superior to me. Just because she was louder, more noticeable, or whatever. She always had this arrogant attitude for being the one who'd made it. Whatever that meant. I believed she needed everyone to view her as a winner. Like it made up for something in her past. But I was done helping her play that game. I know this is just the beginning. I know she won't give up easily. But I refuse to give in. She wanted me to appear small in front of her friends. Now she can experience what it's like to have everything stripped away. I'll post again if anything out of the ordinary happens. Trust me. I'm not done. Update 2. It's been a few days since everything hit the fan, and I'd been hoping Christine would cool down. Realize she'd gone too far, and just, I don't know, stop with the drama. But, no. If anything, it's gotten more messed up. Nigel, sometimes I almost feel bad for her, but then I remember that dinner and how she looked at me like I was a little joke. So, yeah. Here's what happened. The first weird thing was Lila texting me. And not just, "Are you okay?" But she seemed to want to talk. She'd never done that before. She started by saying she was worried about Christine. That she wasn't herself. Maybe she was overwhelmed. I didn't bother sugarcoating it. Just simply told her, "No. I'm not going back." I guess word got around in their group chat, now isolated. Dorothy had unfollowed me on Instagram. That was actually hilarious. Tatum hasn't said a word. This seems right. Christine probably tried to go to brunch with them that weekend. Her big move. Always posting mimosa photos. And Lila told me she barely said anything. She just sat there scrolling on her phone. Didn't even order food. Apparently, she snapped at Lila when she asked if she was okay. I'm not sure what she was expecting. Honestly. Her whole thing revolved around being the one everyone in the group looked up to as the successful, perfect one. She just wasn't. I started getting emails regarding bills. She hadn't paid the apartment. Hadn't paid the utilities. Nothing. She actually called my mom. That was crazy. Because she doesn't like calling my mom. I told my mom I was purposely making it hard for her. That I intended to make her homeless. My mom just said, "He warned you." Then hung up. Typical. So I sent her a message. "Here's what you owe for the apartment. Here are the utilities. This is when they're due." I told her I wasn't going to cover her anymore. She replied with texts. Saying I was being unfair. That it wasn't what couples do. I reminded her. "You made it clear I was a secondary character at that dinner. If you were looking for independence, this is your chance." She tried to Venmo me money. It was only about $10 though. I sent it back. I'm not playing games. Her dad called again. Wants to mediate. I was blunt with him. I wasn't interested in talking unless it involved dividing things up. He claimed I was hurting the family. I almost laughed. He only cared about our marriage when we showed up to their picnics looking pretty. Next, Christine's friend group started to splinter. Lila still checks in, but I believe that's mainly out of habit. Dorothy talks about self-care and knowing her worth. I know it's about us. Christine stopped posting altogether. Her social media accounts went dark for about 3 days, which was unusual. She's the type to post stories about her coffee mugs. She tried to get to the apartment. But I'd changed the locks and the security code. She banged on the door. Then left. Came back a few hours later and yelled into the mail slot. I wasn't even there. Joseph informed me about it. He lives a few blocks away and saw her car parked out front. Hazard lights flashing. She called him. Said I was dangerous. He just told her to scram. She slapped his car window. Left a handprint. I got a letter from the insurance company. She had tried to register the car in her name, but it was rejected. Because she's not on the title. She texted me. She said she needed the car to get to work. I informed her she could take the bus or Uber like everyone else. She slammed the phone down. Yes. I heard it. My mom invited me to dinner. When I got there, she just cooked spaghetti and we talked about everything but Christine. She claimed she'd always believed Christine was ambitious and smart. And that I should be careful. Because people like that couldn't handle it when their image was damaged. I reassured her that I wasn't worried. She stated, "You should be." But she smiled. Christine's parents arranged a family meeting. Me. I almost didn't go, but I wanted to hear what they'd say. Arrived. They were all sitting in the living room, as if it were an intervention. Her mom tried to guilt-trip me. She said I was ruining her daughter's life. I believe she did that herself. Her dad tried to get loud. He said I was cutting her off from her own home. I told him it wasn't her home. She wasn't on the mortgage. She didn't want to be. She didn't want the responsibility. He stood up, tried to square up with me. I didn't back down. Christine was crying, saying she just wanted to go back to normal. I said, normal ended with that dinner. She threw a pillow at me and stormed upstairs, slamming her door. Her mom thought I should think about what I was doing. People in BC talk. I told her to let them talk. I left. Christine cried from the window as I left. I'm nothing without you. I just jumped in my car and drove off. So now she's alone in the apartment. Bills piling up. Friends lukewarm. Parents furious. And I haven't lifted a finger. She texts and calls for hours. She says she needs me. That she didn't mean it. I just ignore her. Joseph asked if I felt bad. I said sometimes. But then I remember all the little digs. How she kept telling me how lucky I was that she put up with me. I don't feel bad anymore. Lila sent me a text tonight. Said she was worried about Christine. Maybe I should talk to her. I said she had her parents. She had her friends. I'm done. I know it's not over. It certainly isn't. But I'm not backing down. She wanted to act like she could walk all over me. Now she can navigate life on her own for a while. I'll update if anything else happens. Something tells me things are about to get much messier. Final update. If you told me a month ago, I'd be writing this. I would have laughed. I always thought Christine was cold sometimes. Sharp. But she would never expect to lose her composure in public because, well, because of me. But here we are. And Yigel, the past few days have been beyond strange. Even with this whole disaster. So I was just trying to get through the week, right? I've moved most of my stuff to Joseph's spare room. I'm finishing up the last apartment payments and trying not to look at my phone every time it rings because it's Christine or her mom. And I'm genuinely exhausted. The only normal thing is my mom emailing me ridiculous Italian noodle recipes and memes. I don't really use social media much because every time I see a story from Lila or Dorothy, it's either Christine's absence or some passive-aggressive comment about self-worth. Whatever. But, anyway, I'm seeing Christine's writing changing. A week ago, it was all caps. You're ruining my life. I can't believe you're doing this to me. You're so petty. Now it's large paragraphs about how she misses the us from before or she just wants to be helped to get back on her feet, followed by another angry text. You're a coward. You could never handle a real woman. I just leave her on read or on silent. Joseph keeps saying, don't take the bait. He's right. So it's Wednesday, and I'm at work, having another boring day, when I get a call from the front desk. They sound weird, like, hey, there's a woman outside looking for you. She's pretty upset. I asked, who? They just said, she says it's urgent. When I looked out the window, Christine was standing in the parking lot, hair a mess, makeup smudged, and sweating. Seriously, I don't think I've ever seen her without makeup in public. She was pacing, cursing into her phone before slamming it against her leg. This isn't a disheveled woman. She'd rather be late to her own party than show up looking anything less than put together. I walked out. She saw me, rushed over, grabbed my arm. She said loud enough for everyone to stare. You're ruining my life. I can't even go to brunch anymore. Everyone's talking about me. You're making me look like a crazy person. I pulled my arm away. I just told her, you did that to yourself. She started screaming and yelling, claiming she couldn't pay anything, that her parents were sick of her, that her friends were fake, that none of them cared, and that she needed me more than ever. I told her, you wanted to be the main character. Now you are it. She slapped me, hard, in front of at least 10 other people. A few co-workers came out. One asked if I wanted them to call anyone. I shook my head and told Christine she should leave. She tried to block my path, saying she wouldn't leave until I said I'd come home. I just looked at her and said, that's never going to happen. She threw her phone on the ground. It cracked. She yelled, saying I'd regret it, and that she'd make sure everyone knew I was a loser. I just shrugged. I was done playing her game. Security came out and asked her to leave. She slapped the hood of my car as she left, then got in her car and drove off. I went back inside, sat at my desk, and looked at my messages. There were 10 new messages from her, all in caps, followed by 2 voicemails where she was sobbing and saying she couldn't do this alone. I deleted them. That was 2 days ago. Since then, she's tried to get to the apartment, but I haven't been there. She called Joseph again, but he didn't answer. Her parents sent me a long email about how I was hurting their family's reputation. I forwarded it to my lawyer. My mom called and just commented, "You did good, I'm proud of you." Lila informed me that Christine had tried to go to brunch again, but Lila refused to let her in. Dorothy had blocked her number. I guess even her parents have had enough of bailing her out. She's been staying at her aunt's house, but this won't last. Her aunt is a tough ass. She's still sending me texts, but it's just noise now. Here's the thing. In case anyone is reading this, Christine was always concerned with her looks. She needed to win. The one who made it out. The person who had the ideal husband. As long as he stayed quiet and played along. I was supposed to just be there, smiling and making her look beautiful. She freaked out when I stopped playing along. That was pretty much it. Am I feeling bad? Not really. I'm not gloating, and I'm not sad. I'm simply moving on. I didn't break any laws, and I didn't get physical. I simply quit carrying her weight and letting her control my life. She can figure out who she is even without me. So that's it. I'm not going to update again until something crazy happens. If you're wondering what it feels like to finally push back instead of simply accepting it, it's like breathing normally for the first time in years. Not pleased, not sad, just finished. Thank you for reading this far. If you're ever sitting at a table and someone attempts to make you the joke, remember that you don't have to stay there. Sometimes stepping away is the most difficult thing you can do. But if you truly want to convey your point, make sure they feel it where it hurts. Their pride, their comfort, their small universe. Believe me, it works.